to episode 536, and I think this might be a rare thing, but we got William Filipek coming back on after he was just on maybe, a month ago? But he's in Indonesia.
He's really trying to get that, five-time guest jacket that we give out. He's trying to get that really hard. He's well on his way.
1 year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I admire his push to get it all done in 1 year, because then he can ignore us for 8 more years and it's fine.
Yeah. He'll be in Ryan Young's place at that point.
Get his gold jacket and call it a day. I understand it. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that crazy trip and all that kind of stuff. And, I always like talking herping. But before we do that, we got some stuff we got to get into, and I got a list here. Number one.
Oh, shit. A list before the show? All right.
Well, yeah, it's a bunch of stuff we haven't hit on in a while. I was telling you before the show, I did get our fellow podcaster on the network, Mr. Doctor.
Mr. Doctor?
Mr.
Yes,
Doctor.
Yes, Mr. Doctor.
He's not just a doctor. He's Mr.
He's a
Doctor.
Mr. Doctor.
Very, very polite doctor.
You have to go to extra doctoral school for that.
That's right.
Yeah.
The natural history.
Yes.
We talked about this a little bit, but I've sort of delved into it a little bit. And you know that this book is way out of my wheelhouse.
You have none of those things.
You have
never
none
of them. But I have all of them, and you have the book before I do. Yes. You have none of them.
It's nice being the podfather. The natural history, captive care of false water cobras, barren racers, musaranas, and other xenodon snakes. I hope I said that right.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah.
But it's an excellent book, man. It's really well done. So
good. It'll help me breed my false water cobra. Oh, wait.
Yeah. Wait, it'll help you breed the Barron's racers.
There we go.
Bred them yet. Okay.
I have not. Yeah, you're right. I need that.
Wait, you don't have musaranos?
Not yet.
You got to add them to the list. That's definitely an Owen
really?
right there.
Really?
Oh, come on, man.
That's dangerous.
It's rear-fanged venomous.
Go on.
Exactly.
Bad attitude. Yeah, right. Go on.
It's got a bad attitude. It eats
like dirt?
anything you put in front of it.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, okay, yeah.
So,
all right, yeah.
But if you're into these type of snakes, even if you're not, I'm not really into these. I have no interest in keeping these.
I would never do that. It's
but it's such cool snakes, man. It's good information, and it's really, really well done book. So if you haven't gotten it, check it out. If you have not heard Colubrid and Colubroid Radio, you should go check that out. It's basically the NPR version of Colubrids.
Yeah.
So, okay. Other podcast people that we have to give a support to. So if you're heading out to Tinley, maybe you want to go there a day earlier, because the other doctor...
Mr. Dr. Julander?
Yes, Mr. Dr.
Mr. Dr.
He gets a
Julander,
Mr. Dr. Julander.
He does get a Mr. Doctor. Okay.
Yeah. But they're going to be at the Gecko Symposium. It's Thursday, October 5th.
Cool.
From 9 to 6. So they're doing a whole day thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Frank Colachica is going to be there, which is good. He's been on the show before. Philippe de Vogele, he'll be there, which, come on, man. He's the godfather of herpetoculture. I don't know any of these other guys. Mark Fink, Tony Gamble, Joe Hupp. I heard that name before. Where have I heard that name before?
I don't know. This might all be gecko stuff, and I'm useless. I don't.
Yeah,
I can't.
Maybe it's when I delved into the gecko world.
Dude, I can't do animals that come apart as they're designed to pop apart. I am a large man who just kind of grabs my pythons. You grab a gecko wrong, it pops apart. And then people are looking at you because that was an expensive gecko. And I'm like, I don't... Yeah.
Can I put this thing back on here?
No, you can't. Sometimes they eat it and they grow a stupid-looking tail. And then you're the asshole who broke the gecko. Yeah, no.
Damn it.
Thank you.
Justin Julander. I would imagine he's talking about knobtails. That would be my guess. But I'm not 100% sure.
Unless he's writing some sort of Europlatus book that we don't know about.
Yeah, I forget. He delves into all those Australian geckos.
See, he might be.
If you want to hear about Australian geckos, I think Frank and Justin are probably your best bets. And then Frank Payne and Steve Skies. So, Sykes. I said skies.
Good
Steve's, sites. Okay, so apparently there's a registration. It's $80 a person. If you do it, I guess you get a shirt if you do it before September 1st. But basically, contact Russ Gurley, which, by the way,
you got to contact him for the book anyway. Yeah,
for the book. So if you contact him for the book and you want to
just
go
tell
to
him you want to do the gecko thing. Yeah.
See, this is pretty cool, though. I like the idea that they're doing the symposium the day before. I guess it's the only thing that sucks is that you got to get there a day earlier. But
well, it's
so you can still go to like the pre-Tinley Friday night show.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And then you got Saturday and Sunday.
If you were maybe going to do,
I can't believe it's Tinley already. Jeez.
I know. Maybe if you were going to do like, we used to show up at like Thursday in mid-afternoon or something like that. It was Friday mid-afternoon, and we would just kind of pass out. I mean, just going a little bit earlier, but I think it'd be so much better if you don't have a table. We always had like animals.
Tables and animals, and we had to sneak them into the hotel on the trolley carts and shit covered with
which they know what's in those, right? Like reptile shows coming, all these assholes are bringing these giant, all of them have the same black containers. I
wonder what's in those.
I wonder what's going on. Well, I mean, and also mine are
the cover.
Well, mine were ARS, so they had a snake on them. Like
And then what is the other? Okay. Oh, Southern Carpet Fest.
The Texas Carpet Fest.
Is that what it's under?
It's
Carpet Fest?
Texas Carpet Fest. Yes.
Oh, they don't call. Okay.
Texas Carpet Fest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah.
Anyway, those guys are throwing the Texas Carpet Fest. And I guess if you want any information, Michael Taylor is the guy to hit up. But they're looking for donations if you're looking to do that because they're having a silent auction. The proceeds are going to go to U.S. Ark.
The jealousy I have is that this thing's going to be held at Ari's place. Like,
yes,
I so want to go. I wish I could go.
So when is it? What is that Saturday?
It's October. It's
right when I'm going to be in Florida.
And I will be in Scotland. So it is. Yeah. I believe it's the 14th.
I just need a calendar. No. Oh, yeah, maybe you're right. You are right.
See,
I take it back. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, the 14th, and it's going to be at Reptlandia, Reptile Lagoon, which is in Johnson City, Texas. So they have a group over on Facebook. Check it out. You can get more information if you're interested in, giving to the auction or wherever. You can hit up Michael Taylor, and he'll hook you up. So
yeah,
looks like it's going to be a cool thing. So far, I've seen. Michael Pinnell will be there for diehard Python people, which is cool. Who else? All the Texas.
Well, I know
Bill will be there.
I'm pretty sure. Probably. I mean, there's a couple people that ended up going, but
if he
again,
goes to the Northeast and not to the Texas, man.
What does that say? But I'm just. But they also have a really cool shirt, and also
I just bought a hat.
It's at Replandia, so just like. Just for that, I would go. And I know that Cold Blooded Cafe is going to be there as well, so it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, and we have, I guess, Cold Blooded Cafe. We have an affiliate link. You can go check that out. October 14th, 3 p.m. I think they're doing a hard close off at 11 too because it's going to be in Ari's place.
Right.
They have some swag over on the thing you can buy to help support the event. They got, I think it was like a T-shirt, a hoodie, and a hat.
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got an IJ on it, man. Like, what the hell?
Now I don't want it. Yeah. you had it and you had me, but now I don't want it. Yeah.
I would love to go, but like I said, unfortunately, that'll be my last day of herping in Florida. And hopefully by that point, we've found everything we're looking for, like a nice big Eastern Diamondback is my goal.
I will have just landed in
Scotland?
No, actually, no, I will be on my way home. So I will be arriving home on the 16th.
So once again, you're going to Europe.
Yep, I know.
And Nipper's coming to the U.S.
You're acting like I didn't plan this. I knew how long I had. I escaped the United States, and now I will quickly get back to the UK before you have to call me if he leaves early. Don't. Like,
mate, I'm out of there, mate. No way. Yeah, am I staying there without?
Where is he? It's like
but it would be good to see them. Obviously, Rob. I think he's squeezing in a hurt. Rob is on a mission, man. He's fine. That twin spotted rattlesnake. He's
going to get it.
Out a trip this weekend.
He's going to get it. Yeah.
Well, if it's any of our past trips, he's going to get it. He's going to be ahead of me now for seeing the croats in the U.S.
That means we have to find you a croat that he hasn't found. What's that?
Yes. I don't think there is. No. We found the timber.
Yeah.
With us twice.
Yeah. So. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a loser.
I mean.
I'm coming up short.
I mean, you could have been so far ahead of him if you actually herped Florida once or twice. While you were down there?
I did, but not for real. So that's why I'm kind of excited about it. Legit herping, like going into where the Satan worshippers are and all that. I don't know if you saw that.
I could get you the GPS for the pygmies that I found, but
okay,
just sneak off. Don't tell Rob.
Don't run off.
Rob. Yeah, don't tell Rob. Go get the pygmies.
Oh, so I don't know. So that's. I think that's everything. Oh, cold-blooded caffeine, right?
Yes.
They have a Canova blend, which is
What's
from the
that?
Congo.
Oh,
it's Canova Reptiles, right? Isn't it Canova Reptiles? You would know, William, right? Isn't it Canova?
It's just Canova.
Just
Canova.
Yeah,
okay.
Just Canova.
Yeah, you just say the one word. That's it. That's how everybody knows.
Too high end for reptiles or exotics or anything like that.
I don't need another word.
Right.
Yeah, just one is fine. Yeah,
I got to admit that has a pretty good ring to it. That you're not saying like.
Right.
Canova reptiles or blah 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 exotics or blah blah.
That
blah.
was one of the whole reasons of him doing it is to distinguish himself from everyone else. Otherwise, you just fall in that same category.
Yeah.
But I'm not creative enough for that kind of stuff.
Me neither. At least I did something different. I went Morelia, but you have to sell snakes in order to be in that category.
I stole mine from a very strongly worded email that was sent to me in college. So
yes,
yep.
Well, at least you have a cool story behind.
I know, yeah.
I mean,
yeah. The college security said they were looking for rogue reptiles, and I'm like, well. Okay, then. It's just, I guess I'll just take this. Yeah.
And it was born.
Then it was done. Yep.
So, we got an affiliate link over there. Go check it out. Obviously, there's the Carpets and Coffee, but I was excited to try that because it's from the Congo. I love how those guys sort of like find the coffee from the region that the snakes that they like are from. So,
Yeah.
So, where would your coffee be from, Owen?
Does
it seems like you're a boa guy now, so it might be South America.
Hey. Coffee
you got
grow
more
in the
boas
Kimberley?
than you do pythons.
That is not true. I have.
Yeah.
Wait.
They don't have Australian coffee. They just have Australian coffee of how to make it, like a flat
right,
white
exactly. So
there's
no Kimberly coffee beans, so I can't do that.
No.
You can easily
coffee beans would grow well in the Kimberley.
Nothing grows well in the Kimberly. It's a rough scales. I mean, you obviously in Indo, there's plenty of my stuff there. But as far as boas, I only have 3 species.
I only have.
Shut up!
Come on, you got rainbow boas.
One.
You got what's the new one you just got from Keith?
Argentines.
The, Argentines.
Yeah.
You won Hog Islands.
A want and a have are two different things. No, a want and a have.
No.
You said have.
I don't
you said
want
have. No, but you said have.
I don't want them.
You said no. You said have. I have Dominican Red Mountain Boa, rainbow boas, and Argentines. I want a really nice pair of Hog Islands, but that's it. I don't want any other boas after that. No, that's
Viper boas.
No.
Amarilli.
I mean, no.
See.
Listen, if Keith were never, never.
I could see you with
never
Russian burger eye. If you like big mean snakes, definitely.
I had Amazon tree boas and they sucked.
Well, they're bigger and meaner.
Exactly. I don't want that. So
stop.
If Keith were to like somehow have a head injury and he's like, Owen, take these Sanzinia, I probably would let him.
Sanzinia, how can we forget those? I mean, come on, man. You bred Dominican red mountain boas.
Yeah, I did.
So your coffee's coming from South America. It's been
no.
Wait, no. Isn't false water cobras from South America too? So even the colubrids
I decline to answer. Most of my colubrids are from Asia. Like,
No.
Come on.
Stop.
Yes. Yes.
False water cobras.
Rhinos.
Barron's racers.
Rhinos?
Where's Barron's racers from?
I don't know.
It's in the book.
I decline to answer such questions. But
Musaranas, they're for... I read it in the book.
But you have... I don't have those. But then, but my Asian rat snakes, Chinese king rats, Vietnamese blue beauties, rhino rat snakes, Mandarin rat snakes, done.
Okay, do they make coffee? Well, see, Rob is more of the Asian coffee guy.
I'm not... All right, then they make tea, mostly, right? Isn't it mostly... Isn't there... Yeah, I thought mostly that was that they grow a lot of tea and stuff over there.
That's just shit coffee, man. That's coffee without too much water.
Can we print that? Can we print that on a T-shirt and give it to Nipper? Tea, that's just crappy coffee.
Just shit coffee. Come on.
He messaged me, by the way, after I talked about how he was going to... Remember how I said he was going to message me when I got bit by the false water cobra? And so that happened. He was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't... Yeah. So,
he gave you a proper knee slap?
He did. Yeah, okay, stinky leg slaps for all. Yep.
That's right. All right, enough of us babbling. Let's talk about herp in Indonesia.
Yeah.
What's up, William? How you doing?
Yeah.
Are you all recovered?
Good. Yeah, how's the jet lag?
It's wasn't too bad. I almost slept the whole next day away. My God, I just didn't want to move.
That sounds like a Rob trip. Yeah.
So this was a trip that you went on with Daniel Solis, right?
Yeah, his jungle diary thing he does. Yep.
Is that the company that Zach goes with, or?
No, he goes with different guys. I think they're from Europe. He goes with.
That was something I didn't realize is how big of an industry that was. I truly didn't realize how many people did those expeditions, if you will. You know, that's a pretty big industry, and I was completely unaware until I went on this trip, and other people were talking about different groups they were going with, and I was just like, I didn't know it was this big. It's pretty large. How many people?
What you're saying is that we need to start some sort of American one where people can come and tour rattlesnakes and stuff like that.
You could, I guess. Yeah, I mean, sure you could. You know, I don't know. I think people have a bad stigma when it comes to the States because of all the, people see Yellowstone, so they see a bunch of Americans going up taking selfies with bison and trying to hug or touch an elk or a bear. You know,
I mean those people are low hanging fruit on the Darwin tree, in my opinion. Yeah, quick, let me get this selfie with this grizzly bear. Okay, I mean, go ahead.
Man. This is going to end bad.
Whatever happens. I'm not going to stop it. Yeah.
So I guess my first question, and maybe you answered this on the last show, but I'm going to ask it again. So it's within this. It's like, number one, how did you hook up with these guys to go on this trip? And number two, what made you want to go here instead of, say, Australia or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
So Daniel, I've done business with as far as getting snakes from him, sending him snakes. Because he owns a pet shop out in California, so kind of gives you that foot in the door, where that's why I love this industry so much, is because it gives me opportunity. That's how I got to Africa too. I've sold snakes to people, and they always had like that. Hey, if you ever decide you want to come to Africa, hit me up or whatever it is, and so kind of gives you that. All you got to do is get over that mental barrier. I think a lot of, like I've heard you guys used to say with Australia, it's like that, put it off, and then you do it. It's the same kind of thing there too. I was just like, you know what? I'm only getting older. haven't traveled, overseas yet. Might as well just do it, was the kind of mentality. So
was this your first trip like out of the States?
Not this one. Okay. Africa last year was my first time, cool. leaving. But no, it was still pretty fresh. I'm still pretty new at it. It wasn't like something I'm a veteran at or anything. But boy, it was a lot of flights. So that's what Daniel I've done business with a little bit, and I knew he did this jungle diary. I remember hearing about years ago, but I was always hesitant to really, go on one of them. And then I would just ask him. I'd be like, "Hey, do you ever plan on doing Indonesia?" Because that was, me being a Python guy. It's either Australia or Indonesia are probably, the places to go if you're into those kind of things,
Right.
I was, he's like, yeah. I do a handful of Indonesian trips, and he threw one out there for this year. And I was like, man, I'm going to really try to make that go. The one kind of pain in the butt aspect of it is, and I don't know if other people are like this, but Daniel's self-employed. So beginning of the year is usually when I fill out vacation and stuff.
Right.
So it's good to have an idea, okay, what are the dates so I can get those days off?
Locked in, yep.
Otherwise, then you're going to have to check, especially summertime, which is when this was around that summertime where, those days fill up really quick for a reason. Most people want those days off. So, and I was like, man, you got to get me those days soon, man. I can't just do it last minute, I don't have that kind of privilege, unfortunately. So trying to get him to, but he got me the days, and I was able to obviously get them. But that was the only kind of part is I would have liked to have known earlier in the year, what days you had or what days were available. But, luckily he was able to make it work. So it wasn't too big of a problem.
That's the hard thing, man. Like I have to, my work, we do our bidding next month for 2024. So I have to sit down and figure out, cause I want to say I have a close to 3 weeks maybe, but I have to figure out my top 10 days. And then the rest are up for grabs. So I have to sit down and be like, honey, what are we doing? Okay, cool. Hey, Rob, like what's going on? Can I, like, I got to try to do this and be like, all right, well, I think I want to go on that trip. So you got to kind of figure that out. And that could be something else that, stuff falls through. Eric planned so far ahead for his Aussie trip. Pandemic ruined that for him. So,
I know.
Yeah. Like that kind of shit. It almost feels like you're when I booked it, when I set up my time off for Australia, when I went, I was working for my dad. And then right before we left in September, I changed jobs, and I had to beg and plead because I was on a probationary period when I was supposed to be going to Australia, and they could have just said no. And I was prepared to quit that job.
No.
I was gonna be like, well, this has been fun. I'm gonna go back to work for my dad. Like it was, That
was a problem I was a little nervous about, is because I didn't know how much time I was always told. Someone was probably messing with me, but somebody at work used to tell me when I was started, I always believed them for whatever reason, was, where I work, there's a lot of Hispanics and then a lot of whites. Well, they used to say the whites would get like 2 weeks and the Hispanics would get 3 weeks, because if they go to Mexico to visit family, they get extra time or whatnot. And the trip was essentially 2 weeks plus a few days because of flights and all that. And I was like, shoot, man, I might just have to call in those days, because I was like, I mean, 3 days. It's like,
I'm
it's no
still
big
sick.
deal.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah,
but no, they let me off, so it was all BS. It was never none of it was true. So, I don't know if I would have been like, maybe can I have the whole rest of this week? It probably would have been pushing it. So
it helps is that, and this is something that we kind of did, is that when my wife and I are going to England, Scotland, and we're leaving on like the last flight out of Philadelphia on a Friday night so that we arrive early, Saturday morning. And it's like, well, sometimes you got to do it that way too, where it's like, we can't take an extra day, but you know what? I can maybe peace out 2 hours early so we can get our butts down to the airport and then just get on a plane. It's almost like you have to, having the travel time over some weekends does help, but it eats into your herping time.
Right.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, so that when you were talking about that, so I have to bring this up because it was actually a big part of the beginning of the journey was fucking flights, dude. Oh my God. I'm not going to lie. I almost called off the trip how bad my flights were. So I go from St. Louis to Chicago. I mean, it's like an hour flight. It's not barely a flight, So I board the plane, get ready to go. The pilot gets on the intercom, goes, "We got to turn back around. Windshield wiper isn't working." And that's one of those optional things where they, the pilot can go. It's like, we can wing it or not. So, but
roll down the window and wipe it off as you're flying.
Hang on. Yeah. So we go back. We wait there for like an hour. I luckily had a layover from Chicago to it would have been Chicago to Tokyo, and that layover was like 5.5 hours. So I had plenty of time to wait. So an hour goes by, they get back, they say, "All right, we got the windshield wiper working." Get back on there. And then get ready to go again. Gets over the intercom. Windshield wiper quit working again.
Dude,
and I was just like, who gives it? Yeah, at this point, I was like, send your little crony out on the windshield or out the window and just manually do it or something. Just losing my mind.
How many instruments to fly this plane? Is it really going to be like, I don't know, we can't land? It's like, come on, dude.
I was losing my mind. And then, so we went back, and then I was like, all right, if they don't figure it out, I'm going to have to change something because this is it. And then I wait there for probably another hour or maybe an hour and a half, something like that. And then they get someone, they say, the windshield wiper, we had to get the part, bring it in from Chicago, and then bring in the guy to work on the windshield wiper. I go, oh my God.
Why does it seem like a car mechanic, or is it like, hey man, you can't swap out your windshield wipers because the dude who has the little nut that we use to do that, he's on lunch break right now, so we can't put your windshield wipers on? Like, I have had that happen to me at a freaking, and then I go home and I'm like, really? Just snap it off, snap the new one in? Like, I don't,
I'm losing my mind. Well, I was like, all right, whatever. So I had to my whole flight had to get changed.
Jesus.
So we get it changed, and I'm still going from St. Louis to Chicago. It's still my flight. So I finally board the plane. We take off. Like I said, this is an hour flight. We fly for 30 minutes, maybe almost 40 minutes. They say, hey, we have to take it. We have to land. We have to do an emergency landing. We're low on fuel, and the Chicago airport's a mess right now. So we land in Peoria, Illinois, which is like, I think it was a 20-minute flight. Man, if it was this big of a pain in the ass, I would have just had my dad drive me to Chicago. And it would have been the same time. And I was just like, oh my God, if this doesn't work, I'm just going to go home.
I'm so glad we're
we're
low on fuel because we kept the plane running during that entire time. We were fucking with the goddamn windshield wiper. It's dude. Jesus Christ.
Ridiculous. But then once I got to Chicago, and it was a cluster. Once Chicago got all straightened out, and everything was a smooth sailing then. But dude, that Chicago, I've never been so.
Was it O'Hare?
Yeah, O'Hare.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how bad it was.
O'Hare's bad.
The past couple of years, any kind, even traveling just in the U.S., man, it's just been a pain in the ass. Like, it's just a total pain in the ass.
I was delayed 5 hours in Dallas when I was going out to Herp, Arizona. And I was just like, I guess I'm just going to sit here. And there was nobody in the airport. It was the emptiest I've ever seen a major airport. And I'm like, what is happening here?
I think those international ones, though, really, I don't know. I've been on, 4? And, like, you know, if they're late at all, it's just, it gets stressful because you got a connecting flight to the connecting flight. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're like, oh, my God.
I hope this isn't on the whole other side of the airport.
Right.
Fucking Daniel got us with that. Oh, that was it was a domestic flight. It wasn't even an international flight. And he got us good. Guys better hurry. They're about to board. They're about done boarding and everything. And we're running through this airport, and it's like, I'm talking 200 feet just running. And then he just like, they shut the door. We won't make it. Don't worry about running. Then we finally make that turn to where they're at, and we just see Daniel just smiling there. And I go, this cocksucker. This cocksucker lied to us just to get us to run.
I'd buy a soda just to throw it at him. Like, no.
Dude.
God.
He's a jokester. He loves fucking with people when he has a chance.
So does he book all the flights? He takes care
we do the main flight to, like, say the destination for everyone to meet was in Jakarta. We booked those flights. He booked all the small flights. So from Jakarta to like Bali, and then Bali to Flores, he booked the 2 flights there and back to Jakarta.
I would imagine that's like where you need the help. That would be my thinking, right? Because if you have somebody that knows how to work in that environment,
and it's just easier just to get everyone's tickets. Because it's like 6 of us there too, so he's getting everyone's tickets at once, and so we're all together, and we don't have to worry about no one getting mixed or lost or anything like that.
I was always curious with those things. Do you guys, like, is it like he puts up, we're going here, here, and here, and then that's how, is there like a list of species that you look for?
Itinerary or something? Oh, yeah. For species-wise, he usually has a target. I think everyone for the most part has their own targets they want to hit, but Daniel's kind of, he's like, for, what was it? Java, Jakarta, there wasn't too many. I think it was more like the dragon snake. We saw the dragon snake. That was a pretty big target. That was cool. That was neat. That was really, really neat. And then Bali was the king cobra, to see the king cobra. And then obviously Komodo being, the dragons,
Right.
So,
I mean, you're in the area. You got to go see the dragons. Yeah.
Oh, and they're everywhere too.
Good. Yeah. That would upset me if I got to the island and I'm like, where are these giant ass lizards? Like, no. I want to see it. I want to see it right when I get off my feet hit sand. I want to see it. Yeah.
What was the total flight time?
Awesome.
Minus the windshield wiper fiasco.
Yeah, right. If nothing was crazy,
if everything was fine. Yeah.
It was like a little over a day and 5 hours, something like that. I think somewhere. Yeah, Wow. It wasn't. Australia's just, you guys are probably even worse, right? Don't you go from like Japan, Thailand, somewhere, and then, or do you just go straight to
LA to Brisbane?
LA, okay, okay. That's what Daniel had. Daniel had a flight from Jakarta to Queensland, or I think it was Queensland, and then I could be wrong, somewhere in Australia, and then to LA. And I go,
I flew out of Texas one time to go to, I think it was San Antonio, if I'm not mistaken. Flew out of there. That was the first trip. That took us to Cairns. And then the second trip was out of LA. And then the last trip was out of Canada, which is the fucking worst.
Yeah, he's mad about Canada. He's not a fan of Canada anymore. Yeah.
No, it's not Canada. It's a Canadian airport. I can't say that the U.S. is much better, but maybe that's why. I don't know.
No, but it's like sometimes to get on some of those bigger international flights, it's like your smaller ones afterwards. It's like you will now sit here and wait for however long it takes for you to get here. If it's not a direct, you could totally get mussed up with that kind of stuff.
I would say that Australia total is probably like 18 hours. But
18. Yeah.
It's weird
Sounds
because of
similar.
how the time difference change.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so it's around the same. That's not too bad, So what was it? I mean, this was your first time hitting Indonesia. What was your in your mind what it was going to be, and then when you got there, was it the same? Like, did it hit the same?
It was, I'd say so. But the one thing I was a little, I guess, because it's their dry season, is when, I mean, you couldn't really, outside of it didn't rain in like Java and Bali. Very rarely rained. I think it only rained in Java when I went home. Right when I went to fly out is when it rained pretty good. But other than that, as far as I can remember, it wasn't hardly any rain going on compared to what I would have imagined. So I'm assuming it was I know it was their dry season because Komodo was really dry, dry.
Yeah. What was it like? What did the temperature shock you? Did it?
It was humid. As soon as I got off that plane, it was humid. Humidity just smacked me in the face. I was like, feels like Florida or something like that. It smacked you for sure. But no, it wasn't. Sound like the U.S. got hotter though, is what it sounded like. I was hearing everyone back home saying it was 105 or 120.
Yeah.
It wasn't that miserable or anything, but it was. I mean, it was still nice and humid for sure. So,
okay.
But no, it was. Unfortunately, I missed because of all my plane situation. I missed one whole day there, and that people were fine. They were doing city herping, and they found they found some vipers. I couldn't believe how many vipers we found throughout the trip. It was ridiculous, just insane. But then they found a water dragon, which is weird because I just assumed water dragons were going to be, or not water dragons. Oh my God, water monitors. Sorry.
Right.
They saw a water monitor, and I always just assumed water monitors are going to be more common because of how much just people and their food and everything get thrown around all over the place. That's probably the one thing that was the most discouraging, I think, is the amount of trash. I think it would honestly, that's the only way I could describe it, is it just was kind of discouraging when you see their rivers or their creeks or, ponds that just had trash in them. And you're just like, but I mean, Jakarta isn't a touristy place. It seemed like the more touristy it got, the more it was still trash, but it was quite a bit more cleaned up. Because they want to make it look nicer for the tourists. But Java was a bit of trash, but I mean, still tons of herps. I mean, geez, I saw quite a bit of stuff. But like pythons, I figured retics would have been all over the place because of just they tend to water monitors and retics tend to really do well in human habitat, so I figured there would have been more of them. But like I said,
people find them by accident. Yeah,
right. Well, there was a retic under a bridge, but I wasn't there. That was whenever we were or I wasn't there. They were just city herp, and they said that's when they left. Is when they said someone found a retic under the bridge. But I didn't end up seeing that, but Bali made up for it. That's where I got to see the retic.
Cool.
But we did a lot of mountain herping though. In Java, we went up in the mountains, and that was more my style because it was nice and cool.
Yeah,
I like the nice, cool habitats. Saw some. What was funny is we stayed at a lodge up there, and early in the morning I'd get up and I would just go out on the deck, and I would hear these noises. And in my head, I thought bird, right? Just for whatever reason, bird came to mind. Then later on, I kind of walked up to the front of the lodge, and one of the natives said, "You hear the gibbon?" I thought that's what that was. I was. They were hanging out. They were actually hanging out in front of the place instead of behind where I was. So I missed the gibbons, so I didn't end up getting to see any of them.
Damn,
that would have been cool too. Like, it's one of those. Of course, we're looking for snakes, but I'd have been excited to see a gibbon. You know,
seeing any wildlife is cool.
Yeah,
right? Obviously,
I'll take anything. I nearly drove the car off the road when we saw when we saw an echidna in Australia. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, tell us about the retic. I mean, let's start there. Like, what?
Yeah.
What was it like? How did you find it? What was it doing? What was your feeling like when you actually saw a wild retic? That kind of stuff.
So when we were herping, we would just herp. They would have. So we went to Bali is where we found the retic, and in Bali we hooked up with the Bali Reptile Rescue, I believe is what the organization is. And they kind of would help us around the area, and they would actually help us herp and everything. And that's a huge benefit, man. When you go on these trips and you have, I'm sure, I don't know with Australia, did you guys get any locals or anything helping you? You guys just man it up, do it yourself type
couple
deal.
Well, the first trip we kind of did it ourselves. The second trip we had Gavin Bedford help us, and the third trip we had Scott and Ty.
I don't think we would have found the Darwin without Gavin, because our dumbasses walked underneath it at least six times.
That happened quite a bit. Yeah, you would just walk and you wouldn't, for whatever reason, you just weren't paying attention. I've done that a few times this trip. You just walk by, fucking, I don't know, what would it be, like a vine snake or something right above your head or something like that. But some stuff you would literally see some stuff so much, you would just be like, all right,
it's another,
that's cool.
Yeah.
I've seen enough. Dude, we saw that many vipers. It was that crazy. We were just like, all right, I'm done seeing vipers.
You get tired of vipers. Yeah.
Right. But anyways, we were in a field. We were in a cornfield when we saw the retic, and we would all, when we would herp, we would like go almost like a line. It was like just a uniform line. And I kind of was just like, I'm like right in the middle. I'm looking at literally everything all these other guys are doing. I was just like, I'm going to be the rebel. I'm going across to the other side of this field. So I just wandered over there, didn't see anything. And I probably was wandering for a few hours, and I was just like, okay, probably should start heading back. But I was so far away that people were yelling, we found a retic, because everyone, for the most part, knew what everyone was trying to look for. They knew I was trying to look for pythons and stuff, so they knew, well, Will's really going to want to see this. Well, we don't know where Will is.
Where Will is,
so all right. They're screaming, they're yelling for me and stuff, and I didn't hear a word they said, so I must have been a lot further than I thought, but I eventually made it over there to them, and they had the retic. They got all the energy out of it, I guess. They said it was lighting a few of them up before I got there. So, because once I got there, it was real chill and mellow. Wasn't trying to bite or nothing.
Let them go first, and then you can handle it afterwards. Yeah, they'll. That's smart.
Yeah, well, it was a pretty small one. It was probably, I don't know, maybe 2 feet, a little over 2 feet. So it wasn't a monster or nothing like that. So it was really pretty too, man. That thing was really
so
pretty.
Has seeing a retic now in the wild, or having found it in its natural habitat, has that kind of changed your thinking with retics a little bit, or how you would approach their care or anything like that?
Maybe not so much care as much as what they're willing to tolerate. I was taking temperature readings of like the area, and it was like 74, 76 is it where it fluctuate. So, I mean, it would get kind of cool, but it would be like 85 or 88% humidity. I mean, it'd be really humid, but it would stay relatively cool, which was pretty interesting. So the retic was cooler than I think most people, realize that, they're tougher than people think, It was a pretty big, maybe not huge, but it was a bit different contrast than the Timor that we saw. That was a bit different, as far as its environment, considering the retic and all. So,
what was the what time of day did you find it? Was it daytime, nighttime?
Night. It was night. It was probably
Nighttime.
it was probably 9:00 or so. And that was the thing too, is the sun came up at 6, it went down at 6 every day. Didn't change. It was same thing, So yeah.
Yeah. That's
12. Yeah. So
I think when I first saw my first python, it was the jungle carbon, and it was like 70 degrees, right? And it clicked in my head. I was like, wait a minute, we cool them to 70 degrees. So does that even matter? Like, think about it. I remember, I think we were talking to Balin when he was on or whatever, and we were talking about 70 degrees, and it was like, if you don't go down to 70, like if you did 75, you seem to not have, and this was years ago, so maybe there was other factors in play, right? We were less experienced in breeding carpets and stuff, but anyway, it was like if you took them to 75, you didn't. I remember the one year I didn't have any success, and I was like, "What did you take it to?" And it was like 75 because I was nervous about taking it any lower. I don't know why. I just had in my head like, "Oh, python needs to be warm," And then, I started taking them to 70, and I had more success. But I think for me, it was like when I went there, I was like, it doesn't even really feel. It doesn't feel necessarily cold to me. Maybe that's the humidity that was in play too. But it was cool. It was comfortable, but it wasn't cold per se. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, well, is it really temperature that's driving this? Is it,
seems to be pretty this way. Yeah.
Like with scrubs, I'm thinking, well, the humidity has to play a factor in this. And I would imagine that's from what you're talking about. It's similar to what you're experiencing when you're there with the retic,
Yeah. Well, I think the believe it or not, I don't know if they still are big proponents of it, but I remember years ago they used to talk. Listening to monitor people talk about it, but when they used to say they never would drop or shut off their heat, I go, dude. When I went to Komodo, it would be fairly not cold, but 80 degrees. High 70s, 80 degrees. At least the nights I was there. And even the caves that the Komodos would hide in, you maybe 80, probably depending on the kind of cave they're in. If they're in like a cave with bats, it's, or a burrow, it had to be within the 80s. And I'm just sitting there going, and people leave them at 120 degrees day and night. And that in my head started playing whenever, because I knew we were going to talk about this, but that was probably the one thing. And I don't even keep monitors, but I do remember hearing a lot of monitor people talking about, not dropping them or anything or not, giving them a cool or whatever it is.
They need that, yeah.
And I'm just like, man, I just cannot believe that's a thing. I don't know. I almost wonder if your monitors are having issues. Is it a viral issue? Is there like a virus that's going on in the monitors is why you're having an issue? Because, clearly they're handling it fine in the wild,
Yeah.
Both. I was in the same habitat with the dragons and water monitors, and it would, with Bali, they'd be dealing with that same temperatures that retic was. So that's why I'm just like, it just seems weird to me.
I think it's like the bread light thing. It's like they can go down, but as long as they have the opportunity to warm up properly to the proper body temperature and can do it the way that they're supposed to, you don't have a problem. Like, I don't necessarily think, I think one of the big problems is, people always used to just do one spotlight bulb for a monitor, and now you have to spread it out so they don't burn themselves. And it's like, all right, yeah. So if they have a little bit of a lower temp everywhere else, so long as they can heat up properly, that's the way to go. And I think that's what I've kind of done with all my carpets. And I want to say the tipping point is that when we found the water python, when we went to Darwin, we were covered in sweat, but it wasn't like it was uncomfortable. It was like sweating was doing what it was supposed to be doing. It was cooling us off, and it was kind of rainy, and it had gotten down toward the sun and gone down. So it was comfortable. And that's when we found the friggin' snake moving around. Not earlier when it was bright daylight at 100-something degrees. That's
when I wish I would have saw more pythons during the day. That was one down. We didn't do a whole lot of day herping. It was mainly night. I mean, we do a little bit of day herping, especially in Komodo, because that was the only time you would see the dragons was during the day. But yeah, I didn't get any opportunity to see anything during the days python wise, and that was what I really wanted to get temperatures of, to see what microclimates they were hiding in, or where they were trying to stay, I guess, cool. Because like you said, there's just no way they're going to be out in daylight in the heat, bearing on them 24.
But that's what we
12
expect.
Hours.
We expect to find them sitting out on a rock, basking in the glory of that, because that's what the picture was in the book. They put the snake on the rock to take the picture. Like, they found him over there in an old car tire. Like, it was that's what it is. Is like, if you're herping for snakes during the day, you're either surprising them where they live, or they came out to soak up a little bit of warmth before they went to go hide, and you caught them then.
Yeah.
So. I mean, I now offer a nighttime drop for my guys year round. Right. Like, it dips. And I've started working that into yearlings. One, because I think it's better for them. Two, it gives my electric bill a goddamn break.
So proud of you.
Shut up.
Right.
I still haven't touched the babies.
I remember a certain person
couple more years,
that.
all right?
Shouldn't the babies chill down too? No.
You monster. I haven't done the babies yet. Give me a couple more years.
I think the thing, though, the only thing that still is in my brain, and it's like, you guys sort of hit on these points variable, like in various things that you just said. But like, number one, what is it doing during the day? If you're seeing it at night, where's it going? Where's it hiding out? What are those temperatures? Because maybe they're in a microhabitat somewhere. And it's like, for me, the closest I got to that was when we were out in Chillago. You're in the outside of the cave. It's like, it's like 100 degrees. You go inside the cave, it's like 70 degrees and much cooler, so my thinking was, although we didn't find it, I bet you Aunt Teresa are hanging out in those caves, just chilling and waiting for the sun to go down so that they can come out, because it's just too hot outside. Like, it seems like, because we do like our herping trips are usually nonstop all day, right? So we're usually doing some type of hike during the day, even if we're not necessarily looking for snakes per se. And I got a question about that too, looking for them. So I'm going to put a pin in that for a second, but how you approached them, because I'm curious about how like a group like that goes, because do you walk right up on it, or are you looking slowly through the thing? Like there's trains of thought.
How he approached it is the exact way we approached it, like a small toddler running after a ball, arms extended all the way, going like this, because and you just run at the animal. Yeah.
But I think, like, it's hard too, because you're going there for a week and you're getting a snapshot of this time frame of what that animal would experience, and maybe it fluctuates throughout the year differently than what we're thinking, so it's like, I don't know, I always worry about that. Me and Rob have talked about that, going to Australia and say the off time, like during their winter, to see what's going on, to see, probably that would be a diamond python trip or something.
But how pissed would you be if you go and found nothing?
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like you could go
You
all
can't
this way
just do
and
that.
then find nothing.
Yeah.
So you got to sort of optimize your time, So
I can go check out the herping spot near me in December, and I've just wasted an afternoon. Yeah. You guys go to Australia on the off season. How much money is that? And then you come back with nothing? Yeah. I'd be pissed.
So, yeah, that retic, man, was beautiful. How did it handle as opposed to how did it feel? Like, was it retic?
Hardier almost?
Yeah. I mean, it was – the problem is it was a young retic, so it still had, most people's young retics are usually pretty similar, still pretty lean. If it was an adult, it probably would have been a totally different story. But it was fit, had a good little scar on top of its head.
Nice.
It was
somebody tried to eat him. Yeah.
Someone tried to give it a go, but it for a young animal, it was pretty beat up. It was nothing like the Timor python. That Timor python it looked like it had some wars under its belt. That thing was old. You could tell it had some age to it. But yeah.
So you found the retic in Bali, and you found the Timor where?
Ranka. It's one of the islands, one of the many islands around the Komodo. So.
Right. So what was that like? What was the feel of that?
Herping
Which was better?
The Timor I was more involved in because I actually was. So we went to, and this is I remember you talking about the cave. I think caves are really interesting for reptiles, man, because we went to the same cave earlier on, and we went in there, and it was almost midnight, and there was still tons of bats in this cave, right, in the middle of the night. And obviously during the day they'd be in there too, or more of them would be in there. And, Daniel was saying, something like, we really need to hit this cave as soon as the sun goes down. This cave might be the ticket to finding a Timor python,
Okay.
And so a few days later, we go back to it was literally the last day in Komodo. We beeline straight to that cave. We were no stopping, no looking at nothing else. We just straight to this cave. Well, but prior to this, we did stop. We were on the boat. We went to Fox Island, where all the flying foxes leave this island.
That's awesome.
Fly off.
Yeah. And
we saw that, so we didn't actually go there right as soon as the sun went down. It was maybe an hour or so afterwards, but we beeline straight to it. Went right into this cave and wandering around. And then, it had to have been 20 feet, maybe 17, 18 feet up. There was a hole, one of the holes of like an exit hole on top of this cave. And you just see the Timor python kind of right on the edge, just not in a striking position, but just kind of maybe just sit. I'm assuming it was getting ready to hunt. And so as soon as we saw it, we ran back up, just hauled ass as fast as we could, just to at least keep an eye on it. Because you were talking about what we do when we see the animals. Well, I'm usually there, when you go on these expeditions, you're there with a bunch of photographers. They want to try to get the picture right then and there unmolested, right? So we don't touch it. We just... Unless it's like going, like it's in the water or somewhere where
it's about to leave,
it's going to leave, then we grab it. But other than that, we try to leave it there and not mess with it. And personally, if I'm going to get any temperature data, I like to try to get it right where the animal's resting, not moving, but resting,
Yeah.
Moving. But we're just sitting there. We're waiting until everyone gets their pictures. Honestly, if we would have waited, I wish we would have waited a little longer, because I almost wonder if we would have gotten actual hunting, grabbing these bats. Because, man, I'm telling you, these cave systems are like a gold mine for snakes and stuff. You have food access almost all the time until the cave dries up. If there was to dry up for whatever reason, food source moves away. But, for the 2 times we went to those caves, there was always bats in there, man. And I couldn't help but think, it's like, man, this would be perfect for any snake, that's big enough to eat a bat. But the Timor python would have had to eat in like 5 or 6 of them, because the bats obviously aren't very big in these caves, so they would have been eating a number of them.
But if you just it's the perfect kind of an ambush, because you just set up and they have to come back.
Oh, Daniel got a picture of a bat flying right by the Timor python.
Wow.
Yeah, he got a picture of it.
That's cool.
My brain starts to go when you say things like this, and this is sort of like what fascinates me about herping. But I think, like, man, so that Timor python is probably eating, like you're saying, eat 5-6 bats at a shot, right? And is it doing that for multiple days? And I think about like what we've learned about python digestion and how their system kind of shuts down and then rejuvenates back up, and like, when it's in that perfect spot where it's on point and digestion is going, and are they just gorging themselves with smaller meals? So it makes me think are maybe I don't know the what those bats are like, if they're seasonal or whatever, if they're constantly there, or like, you know what I mean? Like, is it a seasonal thing where these bats show up and they're in these caves, and then all of a sudden, or maybe there's young bats, so they're flying, there's more all over the place, or maybe they're mating, or whoever knows, but like whatever is causing that. But to your point, you see that a lot. You see that with boas. We saw that with Antaresia. We see that with carpets, retics.
Colubrids will do it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's like the humidity's perfect, the temperatures are perfect, you got a free food source, you have water that's right there available to you. Nobody's really like coming in that's the predator because of the ammonia and stuff that sort of keeps that stuff out coming in and getting you. But like, I don't know, man. I just think like it just makes me think about how much we don't know about pythons that we think we know, or snakes.
I mean, just look at. I think like I'm really hoping to be able to do this trip, because I'm really curious to see it in person. But Daniel's doing a Kalatoa trip to go see, obviously the retics and the caves. And Daniel's seen he went to all of them, the Madu, Karumpa, whatever. They're both Karumpa Islands, and then obviously Kalatoa. And he said, out of the 30 plus retics he's seen, only 3 would be outside of a cave. All the other ones would stay in this cave. They would eat numerous numerous bats, but they wouldn't, they weren't eating like these giant prey items. And I can't help but think, when I see these people feeding their, these pigs. Any of their pigs and stuff, and I'm just like, dude, that's just such a dense prey source. I mean, why wouldn't birds be something you would immediately think of trying to feed? He was like, these things are eating like 5, kind of like the Timor probably was eating 3, 5, 6 bats at a time. So
it's very much the and I keep using that water python that we saw in Darwin as the example of like, this is how big it could get. Should it? Probably not, but it could. So,
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is Dan, like with the trips, I don't know if you've talked to him about this or if this kind of discussion came up, but like as comparing, say, like a mainland retic to your point, which would probably be more where human habitation is, right? So you're seeing like these animals that are exposed to pets and
rats
things like that, bigger prey things and bigger prey items, and God, even sometimes people. But
right.
Is this why they're so big and say like these, what we would call dwarf retics?
Well, I think that's why when you look at like the Jampanzas clade, that's why their heads are so narrow. They don't need these big heads like the big mainlands like in Sumatra or Sulawesi or Malaysia would need to eat these big mammals. They have these the big birthing hips, if you will. They gotta have big heads to be able to swallow those big prey items. That's why when like I had mainland retics, they got the big boofy heads, and even my Maluku retics, they got the big boofy heads, but the Jampanzas clade has these really coffin shaped small heads. In my mind, that must mean these things can't be eating just gigantic prey items. It just makes more sense to me that they're specializing in multiple smaller items. Because why have a big head if you're not going to utilize it to eat big prey?
Right.
So in my head, that's what makes the most sense. And Daniel kind of,
Well, I mean, that was my thinking when it came to white lips too. It's like they have such that narrow kind of snout. It's like maybe you shouldn't be taking these giant things. It's almost like having a smaller bird diet or just smaller rats, less frequent, helps out with that kind of stuff.
Right.
You were going to say Daniel what?
I think Daniel doesn't get as much credit in the retic community as I think he should, because and it kind of frustrates me too, because it's like we rely on these quote unquote experts, but yet none of these quote unquote experts have ever been to these places, have never seen none of these animals,
things, right?
And yet they speak with such authority, but But they'll say like, oh, well, I talked to a guy in Indonesia and stuff. But it's like, that's totally different when you're talking to a guy than when I'm meeting that same guide you're talking to in person. He's taking me to see these animals,
right.
You know? And I don't know. There's like this big disconnect. And it's not just the Retics. I don't mean to pick on the Retics. The ball python community is just as bad. But it's like this lack of interest. And I will say that's probably the biggest thing that's really grown on me is just, you know, if you truly have an interest in a species, unless it's literally impossible to get to, why wouldn't you want to try to see those species, get hands-on experience? Even if you look at it as a business aspect, that's like a leg up compared to most of your, you know, I hate to say it, but you're like your competitors, you know, that have no experience with these animals, have no virtually nothing, barely know where they're even coming from, you know. I don't know.
They regurgitate like what you were saying about like the expert. It's like, well, I am an expert because of what I observed in these animals that were acting a certain way in the boxes that I put them in the continental United States. It's like, but,
right.
And you're trying to connect that with what you hear are the observations that people make about the animal in the wild. Why wouldn't you go and make your own observations?
Right. Right. And then there's like this thrill too, not even just in a personal, like, man, I actually seen something I work with in the wild. And it's like this almost revigors a lot of like the, you know, enthusiasm for that species, you know, of new appreciation, you know.
It helps because otherwise you just like, I'm not keeping shelves of Tupperware or anything like that. It's like, okay, it's like, it helps rejuvenate, revigor. And it's like, you see the animal. It's like, I have an appreciation for blackheads that I thought I'd never have because I've seen them. I don't have any, but I have a really solid appreciation for them.
Right.
So.
Yeah, man.
Imagine if more green python people actually seen these animals in the wild. I bet
and
you
watch them do their thing.
Well, and then see their actual size. You know, then maybe you'd have a whole different outlook on the speak, because apparently they don't care what Daniel has to say. But you know, I don't know.
There's something about observing a healthy breeding animal in the wild.
Right.
And then going home and being like, because I remember being at Crocosaurus Cove and they had rough scale pythons. And I thought, dear Lord, mine are so small. I can't believe, I don't know what I've done. They need to be so much bigger. And then I go home and I'm like, maybe they don't. Maybe that zoo was just kind of overfeeding. And then I got the eggs and I'm like, all right, fuck the zoo. Like there's different parts of that kind of. If I had found a rough scale python in the wild sitting on eggs, you know, it'd have been like, cool, whatever's happening right here, I must recreate. So yeah.
Right.
I think, man, you guys are hitting on all cylinders for me. Like a couple things that I think of when you say that. Number one, like I think that I was always addicted to the hunt with buying snakes, right?
Right.
The hunt of finding that one animal that you've been looking for forever that's from this lineage or this person or whatever the case would be, right? And that's sort of been replaced with, you know, actually hunting for snakes, you know.
Right.
And the other thing is like I just had to reset my whole train of thought in how reptiles are and shit, even just terping the US all over the place, just my whole idea of how reptiles work. And there's something about too when you're going with a group of people that you really can get along with and you start to, you know, somebody will say they'll have a question or something that pops up as you're walking down the field looking for whatever, and next thing you know you're starting to think in different ways because you're actually in that environment. You're actually looking around and getting a feel for like, what does it feel like? What's the weather like? Where's the sun? Is there cover that you can get to? Or what do you think the snake would be doing if it was, you know, I don't know. Just tons of shit go through your mind. And you realize we really don't know much. And I guess that snakes, especially a lot of the pythons that we work with, probably ball pythons, carpet pythons, retics, all those. I hear the retic guys say all the time about how adaptable they are and how forgiving of keeper errors they are. And I think like we think that we have it figured out because it kind of works. right? We kind of have like these little
Most
kind of
of-
problems that happen once in a while. And I was just listening. I can't remember what podcast, and it doesn't matter. But I was listening to somebody talk about producing a clutch, and they're just like, "Oh well, I don't know. This just sounds different to me now for some reason." But I've used to listen to. I know I've said it. Like, yeah, I bred this female this year. She was egg bound, and this one had a respiratory infection, and this one, blah blah blah, and it's just like, nah, it just happens. It's just how it goes, and it's just like, really,
Does it? Yeah,
is it?
Is it?
Not to saying that any. I'm not saying like, oh, well, then you have to have UV and you have to have, isopods running around in the tank that you have. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, it's like, well, maybe we do think about this wrong because I mean, you guys probably both remember years ago, it was always like, what was the standard python keeping? 90-degree hot spot.
Yes.
85-degree ambient.
It
That
was
is so wrong.
That is so hot. It's like we've and I've say this to people. It's like I can tell you till I'm blue in the face how I do things and how I've had success and how I've done all these things. Most of the time, sometimes you're going to repeat what I do, but a lot of times you're going to need to fuck up on your own before you come to realize that there's a reason I'm telling you that I've done these things or done all that stuff. So it's like, but it's almost like we can skip all that and go straight to the successful part because we've experienced what it is in there, what the temperatures are, what's going on in there. So it's we have it backwards half the time.
Right.
That's crazy. So what was did you handle the Timor? Was it? Did it shit on you, bite you?
No, that was the odd part. Is I remember I would talk to tell people because, like I said, I was the only. Daniel liked pythons, but he was more into the venomous stuff. He liked that's what he really wanted to see. I was the python guy. I really just this is going to sound bad, but I could have cared less for the Komodos. I really wanted to see the Timor python. That's
big lizard, yeah.
I go, man, I see it at zoos. I was like,
looks like the other ones.
They were cool to see in person. The one thing I will say about a dragon is those fuckers are fast. Like that thing cleared 30 feet in literally a snap of the finger. It went from a deflated tire to it saw this smaller dragon pulling meat out of a tree and immediately hauled ass over there. I saw how fast that was, and I go, not going near this.
I'm good here. I'm good here. I'm good here. Yep.
Like we would all get pictures with like the spitters, the spitting cobras, and the king cobra, and even them, they didn't like. I had a healthy respect. We didn't. What was his name? We didn't Chandler the snake. We weren't molesting it like that. Oh, dude. We were there with another YouTuber, and we were just. It was nothing but jabs the whole time about.
You're not gonna free handle a cobra in the middle of nowhere.
No.
Weird.
But we would. We'd get pictures with it. It wasn't bad. They were, as long as you respected the animal, they were just fine. But those dragons, man, there was no way I was going to get the pictures I was wanting to get with it. I wanted to take some pretty goofy picture. I'm one of those guys. I like
lean over the dragon.
I'm one of those guys. I like taking goofy pictures. If you know the people I hang out with, I like goofy pictures. But I was like, absolutely no way. No, because I'm one of those guys. I had like an idea of doing like some kind of silly underwear pose near it, but I was like, "There's no way."
No. I'm not leaving myself open. Like, no. I want several obstacles that it has to clear to come to me.
Well, you know what I bet it would happen is I said I'd do an underwear picture with it, so get down in my underwear and shit. But I was like, I would do something like that, and it would wait for me to get the pants back on and then come after me. And then it's one of those you're like, oh, bail the pants.
Oh no,
yeah, or something. No, but I was after seeing how quick that was. Common sense started going. And I was like, let's not even play around with that because
There's a part of your brain that you didn't think you had that was like, whoa, buddy.
Like, that's survival. And
you've gone too far.
I was like, I'm not messing with them.
That's where the line is. All right, good to know. Right. Yeah.
But no, it was but what was I talking about? Timor python. Yeah, so I was talking to him. I go, yeah, my captor ones will shit all over me or pee on me, but yeah, when we got this one, it was perfectly fine, didn't strike, didn't pee, nothing. It was really calm animals. And what's cool is the different islands. I'm pretty, I remember a while ago, Dave Barker in his book, he made this reference to and I remember, I think it was Zach Baez. Didn't he have a picture of that
patternless one? Yeah,
I just think they're localities, man. I don't think there's no suspicion of new species. I think it's solely locality. I mean, look at patternless. You see that in all different kinds of Indonesian species, and this Timor that we found was a lot more freckled. He was a lot more speckled throughout. Even his tail had it had freckles even going a little bit into his tail. It was pretty animal, man. I was really impressed with the way he looked, except apparently the one frog guy in the group, he goes, well, it's just a brown snake. And I was like, God, your mother.
No. So you smack him with the python. That is. Oh, God damn it!
Frog guy would say
freaking
that.
Frog guys. God damn it!
I go, yeah, and your fucking frog that we found in Java looked like a prolapsed anus. I go, get out of here.
I'm like, listen, don't you have some more loogies to find underneath a leaf? I mean, come on.
We would have rounds with each other, man. He was a frog guy. I was a snake. Apparently I was the brown shitty python guy. It was just the brown snakes for me. I wasn't even all that into the vipers.
You just mad because our shit eats his. I mean, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, ours doesn't even acknowledge it.
Exactly. They can ride on me. I don't give a damn. It's fine. Right. Yeah.
Were they the blue vipers, like the blue ones, or
blue,
or a mix?
Green, blue, green, and they said there was yellow, and then there was a gray. I'm assuming it would. Some kind of some kind of gray silver looking one. Or something is what I was told. One night we saw 13 of those things.
That could get annoying. Yeah.
Where were they? It was hanging in the trees, the ground.
Well,
where were they?
Okay, so here's an interesting. Here's something interesting. So most of the time, we would see them on trees. They would either be high up in the tree or those, kind of right at the base of the tree. Kind of very similar to the green pythons, from what I've seen pictures of. Kind of hanging because they would eat lizards. They were eating all the lizards and stuff and there were so many geckos, man. So many geckos. It was ridiculous. So they would hang out towards the either up high up in the tree or down low facing the ground. Well, they'd be patches of dead grass, like just long patches of dead grass. Well, there was a little tree kind of coming out at the center of one, and you had I'm assuming it was a breeding pair. It was a blue female and a green male. I'm just assuming because it just seemed like they could have been a pair. But we were trying to get pictures of them, but they were kind of angled around all these other branches and stuff, so it was really hard to get pictures of them. So we tried to move the branches a little bit. As soon as we start moving a little too much, though, they went down into the grass, into a burrow. And we didn't know. We were like, this is the first time we ever see him just go down in a burrow. And then in our head, we were like, man, I put my hand in a lot of that dead grass, I was just like not thinking anything of it.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
Oh, man. I tell you what, too, we were in the jungle in Java when we were like right at the end of the herping, end of that herping night or whatever. When we first start, you're looking all over the place trying to find these vipers or anything really. Dude, right at the end of the trip, we were trucking uphill. We were trying to get to camp. We were fucking exhausted, and we just said, fuck it. And we just bulldozed right through. We did hair going through branches. We were just like, fuck it. We're getting out of this thing. You know, we didn't see any vipers, so we go, well, what's the chance that something's going to just come flopping on our head, right? So we just go right through. It's like safety just went right out the window. We're just like, all right, ready to go. You know, it was just, yeah. How much harm was put in the way was just, it was kind of funny. It was all self-inflicted, though.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts, right? With the situations you put yourself in. I think of like the, you know, what makes me think of that, Owen, was when we went up to, I think you were there with us when we went to Keith's with Tim Walton up to the timber spot. Yeah, you were there, right?
Yeah.
And we were we're climbing this. It's pretty much at like I don't know, what would you say, like almost a 60-degree angle.
It was pretty steep. Yeah,
you know, and you're just sort of like, you know, walking up this hill and you're sort of grabbing on to rocks, trees, stuff to kind of pull yourself up. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, yeah, this is covered in dead leaves. And we're just sort of like trampling through timber rattlesnake territory, like knowing that there's a den here, right? There's absolutely legitimately a den at the top of this mountain. And we're just sort of like, you know, monkeying our way through here. And it's just like, maybe that wasn't the smartest thing.
Well,
when you're doing it, you're just like,
even when we were in Australia, there was all that leaf litter on the ground, and then we went to Crocosaurus Cove, and the same freaking like leaf litter covered the bottom of their death adder cage, and the death adder disappeared. And I'm like, yeah, I've been walking through that shit. Like, you know, I've had that up to my ankles. Like,
When we found that.
Oh, go ahead. No.
When we found that Timor python, the first night we went to that spot, we found a little Russell's viper in the same spot, and we left it in that same area. And where we pulled the Timor out, once they got their pictures, we pulled it out to get more different kind of pictures of the Timor python. And then we're just like, everyone's trying to tell each other, watch out. We put the Russell's viper in this area.
The Russell viper may still be here.
Yeah, chances are it didn't go too far. So keep an eye out. So we're trying to periodically look down at the ground, you know, try to be somewhat aware of our surroundings. But it's silly how that kind of stuff worked.
Yeah, we lost a brown snake where we were all jumping around looking for the Owen Pelly, and it was one of those we thought about it afterwards. Like, oh yeah, this is the spot where we put that thing, right? Yeah, okay. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like so we often have this discussion about like when you're herping, is it better to sort of like sneak up on the animal, or is like do you catch them
flush
sort
it
of
out
in the middle of doing whatever and sort of just step up on them. So a lot of times we'll sort of break up into different groups where Rob will just plow. He just plows. Like he's just like, I'm just going as fast as I can through this area. And we're sort of like, sometimes he'll scare it away and then, you know, it might come out or whatever. Or, you know, I think that's what happened with the milk or king snakes that they found on Arizona when we found them. It was like Dustin is just plowing through the road, and there they are. You know, it didn't even give him a time to react. Almost, it was just like, I'm here. Whereas, like if you're secretive and sneaking up, maybe they know you're there way before. I don't know. It's just different ways of herping, I guess.
Well, and then the terrain you're in too, because I mean, we were in Komodo. They had a path, but the path had fucking giant rocks in it that we would twist our ankles on walking on. And I go, this is a horrible path. I mean, why would you even bother making this thing? I'd rather just walk on the ground.
Yeah.
The ground is just a lot safer because you're trying to watch the ground so you don't twist your ankle on these giant rocks while you're trying to look into the trees for whatever it is you're looking for. And at the same time, trying to keep an eye out on the ground so you don't trip and fall. And, you know, I mean, there were some serious tripping hazards out there. Then I remember another one, we went up a creek bed and it just got done raining. And we had to do it for the frog guy. The
freaking frog guy. Yeah.
So we're climbing these fucking boulders. And I ended up having a big bruise on my forearm. I mean, I was straight animal mode. I'm like on all fours climbing up these rocks. I look like an ape. I'm just like getting on the one side closer to trees so I can hang on to parts of trees. And, you know, guys in the back are just screaming and yelling. I fucking tripped, or my ankle. I think I twisted my ankle, or And it was just, I slipped on this rock and busted my knee, or it was horrible. And we didn't even see the frog that we were looking for. And I go,
Really?
well, this was a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't. I know the one frog guy. He got so much shit when we heard brown snake. It was like, wow. It's like, okay.
Nice. So what was we'll get back into reptiles, but I'm curious, like, what was the stay like, and what was the food like? Like, how did that come about?
So the Java, the food it was kind of spicy, but I didn't mind it. I love spicy food, so it didn't bother me. It didn't faze me at all. Everyone else I was with, though, fucking hated anything spicy. And they would usually order the food because when I did, I just picked the prettier color on the picture and said, this looks pretty good. And apparently when I picked it, it was the hottest thing on the menu. And everyone was just like, oh God, this is so hot. I can't do this. Why did you order this? And I go, man, I didn't know what it was called. It said it had chicken in it. And I was just like, all right, it sounds good to me.
Right.
So
they didn't do the nice thing of putting like 12 peppers on the bottom, like little pepper insignia where it's like, this is hot kind of a deal. Like, yeah.
Well, I can't remember. Some did, some didn't. It kind of just depended where you went. But, they'd have a little bit of a kick, but most of the stuff wasn't too bad. It wasn't like nothing, at least I couldn't deal with. But,
was it like restaurants, or was it not? Well, maybe not.
It was a mixture.
Word, but
no, there was some restaurants and then some. What would you call it? Like, I guess street food. You go
street
out.
Food,
there'd be people and carts and stuff. You had to be kind of careful because I know. So the frog guy I was with, he's allergic. Apparently, he has a real issue with eggs. Makes him deathly ill.
Okay.
And,
shit.
Because there is that language barrier. And sometimes when you say, no egg, right? No egg.
The extra egg?
And
no.
Say, and then they say, okay, no egg. They just say, okay, whatever, put an egg in. They just, no egg, no egg.
Yeah, as they're cracking the egg in.
He got deathly sick,
he did get sick?
Blowing out both ends.
Oh,
he was like laying on the ground type of, wishing he was somewhere other than there,
Yeah, man.
So,
I was gonna say.
I will say it. Towards the end of the day, end of the trip, my stomach was like, there was this. Yeah,
you got to come home and detox with like toast. Like that's all you have.
Right.
What do you do about things like water? Is there can you go to like a gas station, get like a gallon of water or whatever? Or like, is it
whatever we were able to carry? Like what I would do, we get like one of those, oh my God, it was those big jugs. It was probably like 5 gallons of water. And we'd bring that but we'd bring a bunch of smaller bottles because no one wants to lug around some big thermos. But because each island we went to, we had a guide, it was a park ranger of some sort, or someone who worked in like did field work, in the whatever country they were in. So they would drive us around, and they would usually carry our waters and stuff for it. Like, they were not the waters, but the big jugs for us. So whenever we get back to the vehicle, we would pour, fill up all our waters and stuff. So
that's cool.
That's what screwed me in Komodo is a few times there was like some trek you're supposed to do. There's like a 2-hour hike into the island, and you see this, what was it? Some big water source or something where all the dragons hang out at. But it's a 2-hour hike there, and I was just like, shit, dude, I'm out of water. I got a headache. I go, I don't think I'm going to make this trip, and no one's going to want to drag me back. I'm far too big for anyone to want to carry me back. So I was like, yeah, we better just head back. There's no way we're going to make this and make it back,
Right.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
What about the you said you stayed at like a cabin or whatever? Was it like you're moving around from place to place as you moved, or like?
Yeah, we would stay when we were in the mountains. We'd stay in a lodge up there for a few days. Then we stayed in like a hotel in one, and some of the AC and some of them were absolute garbage too, man. And it would be hot and shit. And
that's really what you want after, a hike thing is a fight with an AC unit.
Luckily, the hot water didn't work, so we take really cold showers, especially up in the mountains and stuff where it was cold creek water, and you're just like, "Whoo, this is freezing." You were like,
"Hey, listen, my body temp is going down one way or the other, man."
Right. Right.
Dear God,
no, they weren't too bad. I mean, most of them are pretty nice places, and there was only maybe a few places where like, it's whatever. I don't go when I go to these, reptile trips. I don't even mind sleeping out of a car. Shit, we did that anyways.
Yeah, sure.
We had long drives. You'd sleep in the car anyways. So
it's the adventure. It's the adventure aspect of it.
Rob gets a lot of heat because he books these, like, we go hardcore all day long, but like the rule is at the end of the night, you want a nice bed and be able to take a shower.
Showers, the worst is that you might have to double up on the sofa and spoon with Dr. Drewlander. And and that's fine. He's a nice big spoon. It's fine. Then, it's whatever.
Yeah. I had no qualms with any of that. I go, dude, if we have it's like a buddy system. We all had I was with the frog guy. Then you had the two younger guys were with each other, and then Daniel was with he had one of his employees at his pet shop up there with him. So we all had each other's roommate the entire trip. That's who we bunked with, and we just bonding time, I guess. We would it was pretty funny. It was good. You didn't know each other, but by the end of it, you were just same bed, either we're both over under the sheet or,
who cares? Yeah. Whatever.
Do you tuck or no tuck?
Listen, you're tired at that point. Who gives a damn? My head's gonna hit that pillow, and then I don't give a shit. Yeah, it's out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I think so tell us about the whole, so you were going from island to island on a boat? What was the deal with that?
Oh, it was for Komodo. Yeah. We stayed on a boat. I didn't even know we were going to be on a boat. So this was kind of a surprise. So I knew we were going to be on a boat, but I thought it was just traveling different. I didn't know we were staying on a boat.
Yeah.
So whenever which I guess makes sense too, because when we got to those islands, the only people who lived there were the natives. There weren't places where the tourists can stay. But I think there was a reason behind that, because the only fatality, or the most recent fatality they had on Komodo, was from a tourist being killed. So I guess that makes sense why they're just let's just fix this problem and not let tourists stay on the island and do something stupid. So
was it a tourist killed by a dragon?
Yeah. Last time someone was killed by a dragon. There was a native boy who got his hand taken off by a dragon. They found his fingers in the woods a few weeks later or something like that. I
bet you that could happen in the blink of a freaking eye.
Oh, dude, they have these super 7-engine boats that if you get bit, they fly you to back to Flores, the main island. And then that's when they take a plane or a helicopter trip, I guess, to wherever hospital it is or something. Yeah, they have it all planned out. If you were to get bit by one of the dragons or something, but you'd have to be really, really dumb.
Really, Daniel do something really stupid.
Daniel was really testing it. I was just when he said, "Hey, you guys want to see something?" and he rattles that snake hook on the ground. And that snake hook start rattling, that dragon just beeline right for us. And it's funny how instinct is to grab someone next to you and just use them as a shield.
Yeah.
That's where the buddy system comes
from.
I'm not going to be faster than anyone. I'm going to grab you and use you.
I'm going to throw the frog guy at this lizard, and then we're going to run.
Yeah. I was like, that's such a sick joke. He got such a stank eye, though, because if you're a tourist, you had to have a guide with you. So there was usually at least one or maybe two people with you in a group, and they give you the little the stick with the V-shaped end, so you can poke the dragon in the eye.
If it gets too close, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how that's usually what happens. So, yeah, he did that. The guy didn't like that. He's lucky he didn't get kicked off. You know, they didn't like that when he did
what
that.
What made it stop charging? Like what?
The guy came in with the stick.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Shoot it off.
The stick. It's like,
Jeez.
I'll come back when there's not a stick. Woo. It's like, okay.
Right. I was about almost over the fence, though. There was a fence right here, right behind my back, and I was like, all right, I'm the first one over this bitch. You know, everyone else, I had a bunch of other people in front of me, so I was pretty set. You know,
I can get over the fence before the dragon punches through it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
oh, shit.
Dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That was another reason I was like, I'm not getting near these things. That's it for the whole picture idea and all that. I was like, no, you know, I think just staring at them from a distance, I don't need to get any closer. You know,
that'd be one hell of a story. It'd be like, yeah, I got bit in the ass when I was posing in an underwear shoot with a Komodo dragon. It's like, yeah, but why? Why did you do all these things? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we thought it was going to be a good picture, and then that happened. Or it ends up being a great viral video. That I don't need to have.
Yeah, like I really don't need this in my life. Like I don't want to be this famous.
I was like, let's use common sense. Let's not.
And it would also be one of those things that they would find the audio of the noise you made as it made contact with you, and that would be somebody's ringtone. Like, yeah, no, we don't need
been
that.
A weird squealing noise.
Yeah. What was his name? He got bit by the retic in like that cave full of guano.
Oh, Brady Barr.
Yes.
And
he's like, oh. Like it was just,
I remember it too.
It is my life's mission to not ever be in that situation.
Why?
Yeah, he comes across as like this, like he tries this persona to have like this tough herp, you know, like I'm a tough herper like Steve Irwin, and then he's in the thing and he gets bit. And he's like,
everyone's tough till they get the teeth in the ass, and then it's not tough anymore. It's just like, oh no.
I got to agree with him though. I mean, he is walking through the guano-filled pool.
I mean, you know,
well, I don't even know. Like just grabbing, like the way he did, grabbing him like that. I would. Yeah, there's no.
That
way.
was stupid, but it's
I would have to like
for TV.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah. God.
Oh man. That's crazy. I forgot about that guy, Brady Barr.
Yep. I remember the episode though too. That was a great scene. Now it's just playing in my head, and I go,
just over and over.
I bet it's on YouTube. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, but that's the problem. You don't want to be that person.
Right,
so
exactly.
you know.
Yeah, I know. I remember when we were holding the scrub python. That was sort of how I was feeling. Like that when we had the big one that Rob rescued from the road, and it just its head came around like into your face, and I'm like, oh shit! And Rob already got nailed on the foot, you know, and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna get nailed in the face by this big kinghorn eye. Oh no, this is gonna be bad.
Right.
This will be a fun story to tell years from now after I heal, but you know.
Yeah. What's that scar on your face from? Well, I got
kinghorn eye. Yeah.
Kinghorn eye. Yeah.
Oh shit.
So, what other snakes did you find besides vipers, cobras?
So
dragon snake.
What else? A lot of colubrids. We saw one colubrid. I don't remember its name. Actually, it was one of the first snakes we found together. And no one knew what it was, so everyone was afraid to touch it because it was except the local guy who still didn't know what it was. He was a little bit more okay to just grab it by the tail and, you know, set it up for everyone's photos. You know, he was more okay with touching it, but aside from that, everyone else was like, well, if we don't know what it is, I'm certainly not going to touch it out of here in the middle of nowhere to try to, you know, just to get a photo. I had an interesting one where it was the end of the night in Bali, and we're going. Well, I'm heading back to the place we were staying, and there's a path, and there's a path for bikes and a set of steps right next to each other, and the way the path was, it just kind of easier to take the bike path and just walk that way. Well, as I was walking down this path, I looked at the steps, and there's a fucking black-faced crate just laying right across the step. And I go, man, that would have been a nasty surprise if I stepped
That would
on
have sucked. Yeah,
that would have been horrible. But I was just like, oh shit! I go, fucking crate, and I just looked at it and just kept going. I wasn't gonna. It was late, and I was like, I don't.
Yeah, I'm good
not
now.
I don't have that ego that people just want to grab stuff, and I'm just like, I'm cool just looking at it and just moving on, you know. So I was just like, that's cool. I was like, thank God I didn't step on it though. I was like, I avoided those steps the whole time because it came out of a little hole out of the steps. There was a hole in the steps in the corner that it was coming out of and going back in. And I was like, all right, so just avoid those steps. Just
none of those steps.
Oh, man. Christ. Speaking of bikes, I got another good story to tell you. You guys ever seen like videos of the traffic in a lot of those Indonesian countries where it's just, I mean, talk about butt the nuts with vehicles and stuff, bikes flying all over the place. Well, I remember my first day there, I made a remark to one of the other guys, and I go, dude, it's amazing no one gets hit on these roads. It's fucking crazy here. I go, it's just nuts. I mean, you just have bikes flying out of nowhere, these little motorbikes just flying out of nowhere next to you, and it's ridiculous. And so a few days later, we go herp in the middle of this park in the middle of town. Well, we have to cross a street. So there's me, and then right next to me is another one of the guys, one of the herping guys, that Americans, I guess. And then maybe a few feet ahead of us were the locals, the local guides that were helping us. Well, we made it halfway across the street, then we get ready to step, and then we see a bike coming. He zooms by, we see him zoom, and then we immediately look back to see if another one's coming. As soon as I look back, we hear a bang, and then look over, and there's fucking little native guys flying in the air.
Oh, holy God.
Hits the ground and then hits the ground like a newborn calf or something, just all crumpled up, laying on the ground. God. And we're just like, looking like, holy shit. I go, wow. I think he's dead. And then he eventually gets up to his waist, and we're like, dude, his legs look broken. Look at the way they're kind of crumpled up there. Then they get up in the squatting position. That it's amazing how flexible these people are, man. They can just sit in a squatting position and that being comfortable to them. And then he stands up, and then he starts walking. And then we go to his house, and we have to have tea at his place because it's rude not to have, tea and snacks if you go to someone's house. So and then his family's making fun of him for getting hit by the bike. Oh, dude. And then the bike too. It was crazy because the guy get hit by this bike. The bike didn't phase the bike, and the people just kept going. They didn't stop. It was a hit and run. Just smacked the guy.
God.
I mean, this guy got air time. I mean, this dude went flying in the air too, and
Holy shit!
He
just jumped right. Like didn't jump right up.
Yeah,
he got up,
but he got up, and then he went herping with us the next day. Went out herping with us again, and
holy shit!
I sleep incorrectly and am dead for 3 days. Okay, Made
me feel like I had to be a little bit tougher of a person.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Jesus.
Yeah. And that wasn't the last time, too, because then karma was a bitch, and then we watched a big truck hit a fucking one of those bikes, and the truck was it was a low-setting truck, so it didn't roll over it, but it just pushes the fucking bike like 9 or 10 feet before they stop, and then the guy picks his bike up and just keeps driving away. And then
Jesus.
and the fucking, and you guys were talking to Nick. It was the same thing. Nick and Ryan and all of them were talking about. And you would have like whole families on one of these bikes, child, adult, and then another adult. I mean, you'd have the whole family on one bike, or the kid was like right in front for like the brake, I guess, or the I guess for in case you get hit, you have something else to hit. Or something. I'm just like, God, these guys are wild out here.
So if somebody takes out the bike, the entire family's gone. You've whacked
kids
the whole
are gone.
tree.
Like if a grown man flew that far, a child would almost be. You wouldn't even see him. They would vanish.
God.
Safety was just
didn't matter.
World,
it was just whatever.
God, dude.
Yeah, it was wild.
I think that is one of the cool things about travel, and you just get a different perspective on things. It's just you think that your world is this, and then you're just like.
But that
I got a kick out of.
nuts.
I got a kick out of Komodo though too, because all the people would live in these because they lived right on the beach, so they lived in elevated houses because of the tides and all that. But their houses are all made out of tin, and I mean. They look kind of rough. They kind of, I'm not going to lie, look kind of shitty. I mean, they just didn't look very good. But you would have all these kids sitting there on their iPhones, just playing, just all night long, just playing on their phone. I mean, they were just like kids in the States. We would walk by, they wouldn't even acknowledge us. They were just, they were just on their phone.
And in their rinky-dink shack. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But then... it was weird too. Some people got a real kick out of seeing white people, I guess, because they would, when we were in Java, since Java's not a very big touristy spot, some of those kids might have been the first time they've seen a white guy in person. And dude, they were just like, picture, they just, a group of kids would come swarming me. And I would say, all right, back up everyone. I want to say I don't trust you, but I don't trust you. I don't know. I don't want to miss anything in my pocket. There's like 15 of them. They outnumber me, and I was just like, all right, we got to have some distance here.
Taken up by a pack of kids. Yeah.
Oh, that's nuts.
It's insane.
Their toilets are crazy too. They got two kind of toilets. They got regular toilets, and they have holes in the ground.
Mm.
That one was like.
And nothing in between. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the problem is if you live in it like a lodge, a hotel, something like that, generally they're going to have toilets.
Right.
If you're not so lucky and you're stuck out in the middle of a town or a village and you have to go, which I had to do, I had to go knocking on someone's door asking them to use their bathroom.
Oh, my God.
There's this language barrier that they don't know what I'm saying. Luckily, we had Google Translate, and I'm just like, oh, God, my big ass has to try to use this?
Yeah.
I go, Jesus Christ. And then they wanted a picture afterwards. They go, a picture? And I was like, sure, I guess after I destroyed your bathroom, I'll take a picture with you. That's the least I could do, I guess.
Post it up on the bathroom wall.
Right. It was
William was here.
Right. Oh, yeah.
God, that's great.
That's nuts. That's cool. So I guess we're coming down towards the end. I want to say the Reptile Fight Club is coming in right behind us, so I don't want to cut them off. But what was your biggest takeaway from the trip? What's the thing that you were your biggest?
Yeah.
Biggest thing you learned or something?
So this trip taught me, treat the environment a little bit better. Honest to God, after seeing all that trash, it's almost hard for it not to impact you in some kind of way. I mean, some areas would be so bad that you would I felt bad for one guy when we were in Komodo. The beach would have trash on it, and he's the guide. It was one of the guides who was born and raised there. You would see him pick up the trash, and you couldn't help but feel really bad because when he was a kid, he was an older gentleman. You just know when he was a kid, this wasn't a tourist spot. His beaches were probably clean, weren't full of trash, and now however many years later, he's seeing this trash on his beach, and I was just like, there's a little bit of a heartbreak to see You know, you could he didn't say nothing, he didn't bitch, didn't complain. He would just pick up the trash, and you were just like, man, you felt really, you know, it made you think like, pick up and throw away your trash, guys. Don't just throw it to the side or throw it on the ground. Now that believe it or not, that was probably one of the biggest things. Just how much trash I saw. I was like, treat your environment a little bit better. And then honestly, just traveling, man. I mean, you guys know Nick back in the day used to always harp on, you know, go see the world, you know, it'll change your perspective on life and, you know, give you something, you know, something bigger to look forward to in life. There's so much of this planet to go see. Now I have kind of this goal in life is I would, you know, he's also doing a Borneo trip and I want to go see Borneo before, you know, the orangutans may not be there, you know, next time I decide to go. And you hear about all the deforestation that happens there, you know, and it's kind of one of those things I'd like to see it before something does happen, you know. You know, just try to see, you know, just certain species of animals, you know, see the gorillas before, you know, something happens or whatever it is, you know. I would venture to tell people, you know, definitely go out and, you know, if it's actually possible, try to make it happen because, you know, you don't know what'll happen in the next 20 years, you know, not even just to you, but to the environment. It may not be the same as when, you know, compared to 20 years prior or something. So that's probably some of the bigger things.
It's one of those things that we all know people that may have never left their hometown, home state, whatever. And for you to say that, like, you went and you were at this place, you were in this thing, you've touched parts of the globe that other people haven't. It's like, it's awesome.
It kind of changes too the way, not like I look down on them, but like less of a desire to go to zoos and probably more of a desire to see the animals in the wild. You know, that's something I kind of, you know, I said, nothing against zoos, and I still enjoy going to them, especially if I go to, you know, because I do Vin reptile shows, you know, I like going to see zoos, but it kind of made me like less wanting to go to zoos, I guess. It definitely changed my wanting to go to reptile expos too. I mean, I don't have that drive as much to go to reptile shows as I do now to go see these animals in the wild or just not even see animals, you know, just a journey.
The environment.
That's what it is. It's a journey too. And the environment and everything. Because Jesus Christ, man, just getting to the place sometimes is a story all on its own, you know?
Well, it's like we didn't know growing up that the option was we can go to the zoo or you can just get on a plane and try to see if you can go find it. Like that was never an option. It's like, oh, well, shit. I know what I would rather do. Yeah. Let me go find it myself. But, And that's a good thing too, is like go look up some of these. I wish I knew some more companies, but like if you just Jungle Diary and just a lot of these other places, you know, if you look, because there is that fear of, well, I just don't know what I'm getting into. And that, you know, that scares a lot of people. So if you can hook up with people like them or groups like that, some people are a little different. Some people, they kind of, you know, I even talked to Daniel. I go, do you just let anyone go onto these trips with you? Because I could see something really bad happening. You know, say like you have two people who really don't like each other, or you have somebody who's real reckless and does something stupid with animals or whatever it is. Because, I mean, you do come across really dangerous animals to, you know, sometimes. So that's something I was always like, but I mean, if you,
how does he deal with that?
Oh man, Daniel, not probably the best way you should. Like I don't know how much. I don't know how much I can get into detail.
There's sort of a vetting process, though. He kind
of like, he kind of is like, but he's like, it's real easy. I mean, shit, if you've said hi to him before, you know, it's not hard. Like it's pretty easy. So, I mean, and then, like I said, there's so many different places. I mean, Zach, I'm sure if you talk to Baez, he probably could tell you of other place that do it. Cause I mean, I didn't realize how lucrative of a business it was, you know? So, well, and you probably,
Dan do it too. DM Exotics. He does.
No, I think he just does it himself. I think he definitely could do it though, if he wanted to, but I don't know. I'm sure he could, but, That's probably another thing too. Is I've heard. So if you do expeditions and stuff, try to go with people, unless you're willing to take a chance. I mean, if you go with someone who has a little bit more experiences with these kind of travels, you're going to have a little bit easier of a time than someone who just decided on a whim they want to start doing them and they kind of don't have a plan.
I can handle this.
It's just it's just winging it down there. I've heard stories of a few people, actually friends that decided they wanted to do it, but then you hear from other people that, you know, they kind of didn't know what they were doing. They kind of just winged a lot of it. And it was like, it wasn't the same as someone else's expeditions. So it's I don't know. So kind of, I guess, do maybe a little research with, you know, the company or whatever, if you choose to do it that way. I mean, you guys could do it. I mean, I don't think it would be impossible if you guys just decide to take the NPR group and do it. I'm sure you could figure it out. It wouldn't be too bad, I don't think.
I mean, Rob could. We would just be there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Rob puts so much. I think that's sort of his thing, right? He sort of found his, Nipper's a lot like this too, where they're sort of, they're sort of the I don't know what you would call it, the person in charge of the trip, like the person that's sort of doing like, okay, you know, we sort of have like maybe talks about, oh yeah, I'd like to go here and see X species, and then it's sort of like, okay, how can we do that? What can we see? What else is there? You know, and he just goes into iNaturalist, and you know, it's kind of nuts, but right. It's I think the thing that to your point, I think the one thing that we sort of enjoyed about Australia is that it gives you the feel of being in an exotic location, but still you feel like you're at home. You know what I mean? It's just like it's like a different version of home.
That's how South Africa felt. South Africa. I'm sure if we would have went closer to the Congo area, I'm sure it would have changed. But yeah, South Africa just felt almost no different than home, you know, a little bit more exotic, obviously, but yeah, other than that, it wasn't too different, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. So where's the next trip, man?
Yeah,
Borneo. I'm really wanting to do the Borneo and the Kalatoa trip. So Daniel wants to tag Komodo Island on with both of those trips, but I'm like, nah, I'll skip the Komodo part. I'm done with the boat thing. I saw my Timor python. I'm good.
I got my dragons. I'm good. You know,
I don't need to do that boat trip again. I was pretty rough. So I told him, could I just skip that and do the Borneo trip? He said, you know, I might just do Komodo, Borneo, and then literally right into Kalatoa, and then he would do another Komodo trip or into Kalatoa. But I go, I'll skip both the Komodos and just go.
I'll come in and just do this and then fly
and
out.
Just leave. Yeah, just leave when I'm done. You know, before you guys even get to any kind of boats. You know, so yeah, that's something I want to do. I really probably more so than the. I think Kalatoa. I just think that'd just be interesting. I would like to have that perspective of just, you know, just to see. Because I saw a lot of pictures from Daniel, and I can tell you what, those retics, I mean, they were literally all this big around. 7 foot long and all this big around.
Wow.
So I mean, tiny. You know, they weren't kidding. Like, when people would say colubrid, they were talking about wild retics. They weren't talking about captive retics. That was totally different whenever I heard people talk about colubrid-sized retics. But yeah, that's something. I want to see Borneo because I'd like to see, still see more of the mainland retics, or, you know, and then obviously the short tails and stuff, and then the orangutans would be the big one. I'd really like to see that. You know, something cool. I heard, and I didn't think anything about it till someone brought it up, is if you do stuff like seeing a lot of the great apes, you gotta be cautious of stuff like with the orangutans not being a ginger, because they might molest you, or not rape you or something. I mean, if it's and I was just something in my head. I go, you know what? I could totally see something bad happen.
It was some video. They were all people were all hanging out at with the gorillas, and the one male just got, I guess, a little pissed off that everybody was hanging around. He grabs the one park ranger and just drags him like 6-7 feet and then lets him go, but like drags him by his ankle. Dude could do nothing, and he didn't do anything. He just kind of let it happen, and I'm like, holy shit! Like that gorilla could have picked that man up and been like, and now you're in half. Like it's over. Like
Well, Daniel's doing. I really want to do that. I want to see the great apes, but Daniel has a trip to see the gorillas. But I was thinking in the back of my head, I go, but it also said to see. You know, I think the scarier ones, though, are to see the chimps.
Nope, not doing it.
If you think about it too. You're going with a group of people or a troop of people into another chimp's territory.
Oh, we've declared war.
I kind of wonder how that would end out. You know, I'm just like, in my head, I can't help but just. Worry about, you know, could you imagine fighting for your life with a group of chimps?
I just you lose and hope they kill you quickly. Right. Like it's there's several animals that scare the crap out of me. I have been in zoos that have I think it was a zoo that had like a bachelor group of chimps, and just walking in the room, these chimps were like, oh no. And they're walking around, they're doing that clapping thing. And they're like, they're going to threat display at you. And I'm like, what? And this thing just one hand grabs a rope, swings from the other end of the enclosure, punches the glass right around where my head was, and then just jumps back down and continues running around. And I'm like, yep, I'm done with this. I'm out. I don't want to do near these. Like there's like this much glass separating me from death. Like, no, I'm done. Yeah, I'm good.
Right. I say that, but I really want to see the great apes. I think that would be
that's pretty cool.
That would be pretty awesome to see before, you know.
See the chimps like with the setup.
Yeah, no.
It's like, they look awesome. Let's go.
Like I said, I don't need to be up close. I don't have that. I think some people think they have an ego till they see some of these animals in the wild, and then it's just like, you know, when you see like, especially like with Africa, like you're in a big truck and you think, oh, it can't be that scary being next to an elephant. And then you're up to an elephant. You're just like, good Lord, it's bigger than the truck.
Dude, that was like, there was one of those shows on Animal Planet of like, I Survived. And it was this guy who's like a dentist who goes to Africa and he's wandering through the bush and he stumbles into this bull elephant. And he's like, oh, my God. And we had a connection. And I went to pet it on its happy little trunk. And then this elephant wraps his trunk around him. He's like, I thought it was going to give me an embrace. Then it like pounds him into the ground, puts him in his mouth, chews him a little bit, and then throws him into a tree. And then like the dude nearly. This an elephant. And then this dude nearly dies because he's taken to some sort of like African hospital and he's like, he has been so horribly injured that they managed to get him alive enough and so that he doesn't die from the infections. And then they get him to a hospital in Germany where they have to keep him more alive. And then they bring him to the US. But like the fact that this guy was like, I'm going to walk up to a wild animal and pet it on its face.
Well, it's so Daniel has all these connections, you know, whenever, you know, he usually knows either a handful of people in each place, you know, all these different places he goes and sets up these tours. Well, he started doing Zimbabwe, you know, Africa, and he had a local guy send him some pictures, and it was a villager that was eaten by a lion. It was a skull. Like he took a picture of just the skull of this villager that they found. You know, I guess he's a ranger, so he came across it and found like a skull and then an arm or some kind. I go, wow. I go, and these are just because the villager who, you know, he had to go somewhere. So what if you can't drive, you by foot and you just go, you know, and they don't want to do it during the day because they don't want to deal with the elephants. And I go, well, night's not any better.
The night's worse. Like, it's like
just like
all of this is bad. It's
I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay home today. I don't think I want to risk my life. I was just like, so it just makes you. It's just your perspective of just like we bitch
Yeah.
about our phone not working. These people, like, their lives are in danger if they leave their village or town or whatever it is. And I'm just like, wow, that guy was just probably dropping some mail off or just going to the next town or whatever. And he just, not alive. He's unalive now. And I'm just like, wow.
Something came and unalived him. Like, it was.
Oh, yeah.
No.
That's crazy, man.
We take being taken out of the food chain for granted a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, human beings are soft, man. We're
so easily killed. Like it's
and especially now. I mean, maybe millions of years ago, maybe we were harder, but now it's like we become so soft. It's like, all right, man. So that's awesome, man. I'm freaking jealous that you got to see.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I'm jealous of you guys, man. I still want to. Australia's still up there. Like I said, Australia's still up there as far as especially if you're into pythons, man. How can you not go to Australia? I mean,
come on.
It has to be.
Yeah, right? you'll have to come with us one time, man. You'll come on the NPR trip in the in the Outback.
If I'm invited, I'll take you up on it, man. The problem is trying to get people to go with me to Australia is probably my biggest thing. Is it's kind of like that old fear I would have years ago of like, I would like to, but it's logistics or whatever. You'd always come up with some sort of excuse or.
Something would stop you, and
right. I'm starting my reptile business, so I got to invest more into this. So I can't take a trip or something. Yeah, there was always something in your head that would prevent you from wanting to go. But Australia is definitely like, oh my God, I'd love to see.
I think the Northern Territory would be the spot for you, man. The five species of pythons, right? In the spot,
that's what I've heard. That's what Nick was telling me. He said that's the place you're going to want to go if you want to see a bunch of pythons or a bunch of stuff in general.
A bunch of different stuff,
Right.
We hit them all but the one. Damn.
Yeah.
Next
time. What was the one you guys didn't hit?
Olives.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that would have been a sweet one.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
Just have to do it again, man. That's
right.
Shit, now we have to come back. Yeah.
Right. That's kind of a new goal in life, man. That's a new goal is I'd love to, I keep all these pythons. Now a new goal is like, let's see how many pythons I can knock off this list of seeing in the wild,
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty neat one.
Yeah, me and Ryan were kind of talking about that at Carpet Fest, right? He was sort of saying like, I was telling him how impressed I was with, now he's kind of the guy that's bred the most species of pythons and all that stuff. And being a python enthusiast, I was like, well, I'm not worthy type of deal, But,
right.
So I was like, I had that lofty goal and I was like, nah. And I was like, I'll be happy with just breeding all the Australian species of pythons. Like to me, that's a more doable goal, but I would love, number one, to see all the carpets in the wild, and number two, see all the pythons in Australia. And then maybe if I'm feeling adventurous, start to venture out of that, world and into the other one. But like Australia is like the main spot for me right now, just to see them all, But it's just cool. The last thing I'll say is like you were talking about just seeing parts of the world, right? But I remember looking through. I guess it was actually probably Daniel's pictures, but I was looking through some of the pics that you guys of the trip you were on. And when me and Owen did the Timor python episode, there's this kind of like this. I guess it's like a mountain or whatever, but you're at the top of this rocks, and it's sort of like you can see the island. And I'll have to send you the picture, but.
That was horrible trip. I know what you mean. That was
right.
It was almost 4 miles there and back, and we were just under. I think it was like just under 3,000 feet. We were up, and I was exhausted, man. My shirt was drenched for fucking 3 days. It just would not dry. It was whole. It's like it absorbed a whole different kind of sweat I didn't know I could do.
Jesus,
it was fucking wild. I go, this is. Oh, it was horrible. It was like, like I don't want to be this guy because I know that we had some guys on the trip who'd be kind of whiny about it, but there was like this, I didn't care as much to do the touristy thing. If
Right.
I can avoid it, I didn't, if I had to skip it or whatever, it wasn't no big deal. And that's what that mountain was, is to climb that mountain was a big touristy thing and shit. But the thing is too, when we did it, there were so many old people doing it. I go, we have to be able to
no. I don't want to get shown up by old people. Like, no.
I go, it's like, they're going to we're never going to live this down if we don't do it. So we might as well just get it done and over with. And boy, did I feel
sets that up, man. I think
that's annoying
all
as
these
shit.
parks around the world, they get these old people, and they're like, "Listen, you just got to walk around this park," and then people will be like, "Screw that! I got to get to the top. These old people can't show me up. I got to get up there."
Right.
They have a secret escalator to go up and down. They just pop out of corners. Like, no.
Man!
But the picture I got from when I was looking at Timor, right, or was looking at that thing, and I'm like, wow, that's the same picture that I had in the notes for, when I was doing the Timor.
But they
how
took
cool
it,
is that?
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
But I'm sure you'll be posting up pictures and such. Where can people watch that? Can people see that anywhere?
Oh, man, I'll try. I'll try. I'm not the biggest photographing guy. I'm not going to lie to you. I was one of those. I was kind of more in the moment. I'm like Owen. I'm kind of just in the moment. I'll take pictures, but it's some of these guys would have these super elaborate, like, $7,000-$8,000 camera setups, and I'm just like, do you see me, man? I'm like a fucking Neanderthal. I'm terrified. I'm gonna
with my phone,
up, right? Well, it's just that, but I'm just like, did you see the environments we were in? If we slipped and I fell on this rock, my big ass is going to crush this camera.
Right, and then I'm dead.
And then I'm gonna be pissed because it'll probably be the same camera I use to take pictures of snakes when I get home.
Right.
Then I'm stuck using my shitty cell phone.
Then I'm in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, so
it could be a lot of problems all rolled into one. So,
but I can see why people do like taking those nice photographs, because I think it would be cool to have like some of them like posted up on your wall and stuff, like a haul of different wildlife you saw throughout the world or whatever. But it was just one of those like, fuck, do I want to take an expensive camera setup and my luck get break it on accident? Because like I said, I'm a klutz, man. My luck, I just either drops it in water, or I had to be mindful for my phone, man. I had to remember, all right, we're in a creek, put my phone in my backpack so I don't drop it or get my pants wet and get my phone fucked up.
Right.
So it was like trying to keep that in my head, or, all right, we're going up dangerous rocks, put my phone away, because if I fall, I'm going to crush my phone. So it was like,
or you'll leave it on top of a mountain,
Well, if I have
on
to
the
see
side of a road,
cool, I would say if I have to see something cool that way, I guess that's what you have to do.
I'll huck
right?
it. Yeah, sometimes you gotta.
Right.
Exactly. Cool. Okay. All right. But I guess if you want to see some of the pictures, I went over to Jungle Diaries or Daniel Solis's page. That would be that was a cool spot. So
yeah, I'm looking at them right now.
It's cool, man. Right?
Yeah,
some
dude,
of the
they're
places
awesome.
and things they saw.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad that we could borrow you for a little bit and talk to you about the trip. And man, that's awesome.
It's a successful trip, if I do say so. You guys crushed
Everyone's alive, barely, but we had a few close calls of a few people that were going to have to get flown off the island because we had one guy choke on some goat. And just, for whatever reason, he couldn't get out of his throat. So he's like, I can't even like swallow my saliva. And I go, well, that's not good. So they had to take him to a specialist, and then they were going to fly him out. But then he cleared up his throat, or he cleared it all up. So then he ended up finishing the trip. And then me and one other guy were stuck. The one guy got really seasick. Like he couldn't even leave the boat. He just throwing up and I was getting rough, but my extent was just headaches and not eating. That was my only problem. I wasn't so much as upchucking like the other guy was, but and then we had the guy that with the egg situation that was, So we all made it through. But we all had something wrong with us by the end of it,
Right. As long as you make it through, man, you can joke about the stories on the other end.
When you live, it all becomes a great story later when everybody lives. Yeah.
Those are the best trips, man. That's what I always tell people. I go, the best trips are when you have your life's a little bit in danger, because it always makes a better story than if I was on the beach reading a book.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Plus, it makes you feel alive, too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck, yeah.
Right. That's what I told myself when I went up that hill. I was like, God, I'm alive.
This didn't kill me.
I've said that many a times on Rob's trips.
God.
I can't believe I made it up this far. Thank God I'm alive. So, oh man, but cool, man. Yeah, thanks again. Put your stuff out there. I know you just were on recently, but throw your stuff out.
Yeah, TJW Exotics, Facebook, Instagram, website, all that. That's pretty easy to get a hold of. Been slacking on Instagram. God, I fucking hate taking pictures of stuff. I'm just such a slacker.
It's all good, man.
Right.
Cool. But, all right. Let's wrap it up and get out of here, Owen. I guess I don't know. What do we got? Cold-Blooded Cafe.
Yes.
Cold-Blooded Caffeine.
Yes.
Don't forget about Zach's book.
Yes.
The Natural History. You can order that through Russ Gurley. We got the 2023 Gecko Symposium on 10/5 at 9 to 6. You can also go see the doctor.
You can also contact
Russ Gurley
through
as well.
that. Yep.
So get your book. Yep. Get your ticket.
We have
Tinley Park is that weekend.
Yes.
Fortunately, I will be herping Florida, hoping to find an Eastern Diamondback.
I will be enjoying a wonderful vacation
in Eastern Diamondback
with my wife. Yes.
Very good. Southern Carpet Fest. 10/14.
No, Texas Carpet Fest.
Did it again.
The Texas Carpet Fest.
Damn. It's in Texas. How about that?
God damn it.
Texas Carpet Fest. They're having a silent auction. Hit up Mike Taylor if you want to be a part of that, or if you need any information on the actual event itself. But it's
October 14th. It's October 14th, Replandia. They're going to have exclusive, behind the scenes checking out kick-ass animals and all of our stuff. Ari's got on
place,
dude.
Shit.
Every time
posted up
Ari's
picture,
dude. Every time Ari and Ryu post a video or a photo, I just turn to Melissa and I'm like, "Can we go to Texas for a vacation? Just can we go for a trip? I just want to go and see it." And she says, "Take your snake friends with you. Just go with them." And I'm like, all right."
That's on the 2024 list for sure to get down there. So. That's all we got. Check out all the pods and the stuff and the things and if you don't know it, then it is what it is.
The Teespring store and the Patreon. If you've gone this long without doing it, I don't know what to say anymore.
Right.
Get your coffee, get your frozen rodents. You get 10% off your orders if you use the code MPR10.
Yeah, basically that saves on shipping, something like that, right? Then it got some good sales.
They have a ton of sales, and I think the last time they did a big sale was like 50% off your order. You could add the MPR discount on top of that. So
60% off rodents?
Exactly. So
what are you sleeping on? People?
Use it. I got to talk to you this weekend because I'm like, I got it ready to I'm going to get ready to get an order. And, it was, I think they had a video showing up of like some of the bulk orders they do for like pet stores, and it was like being loaded into a truck via forklift. And I'm like, how do we get on this list? I bet you could go through that. Yeah. I got enough shit.
Like a box this big, and Owen has a truck delivering his rodents.
Sometimes, it's
that time of year.
Yeah,
bulking up the snakes. That's what I had to wait for after this trip, and I was like, oh boy, it's time to start hammering everything with
you're bulking up snakes, but then also you're feed trialing with babies. You're fucking with them up, and I thought so. My rough scales are due in the next 2 weeks, and that's the last clutch. But then my white-sided black rat snake decided to double. So we're not done anymore.
You ain't closing down, man.
I can't. I can't.
You're one of those full-year breeders now, man.
If something else lays eggs, we're getting dangerously close to like where I could get weird Yeah, no, I quit. It just doesn't stop.
Look, he has all the success, and he's upset.
Make it stop. There's so much. There's so many babies.
Yeah. All right, Owen, take us out.
All right, that's it. That's all we have for everybody this week. We'll catch everybody back here for some more Morelia Python Radio.